Today we'll continue the content we discussed last time. Uh, we'll start with the economic globalization and the international economic order. And economic globalization and the integration have become the phenomenon since the World War II, especially after the 1980s in the international economy. The degree of the interreliance uh, on each other's economy becomes unprecedentedly enhanced. The world has become a global village, and economic globalization has become an irresistible international trend. And the world sovereign states open their economic institutions, including international taxation, while keeping adjusting and coordinating in order to fit for the globalization economic characteristics. The international taxation, and globalization is the basis of this economic globalization analysis. So the international coordination on the taxation has two meanings. The international tax, it refers to the distribution relationship between the state, and the state tax rights and interest formed when two or more countries impose a tax or tax collection on the same taxpayers. Engaged in the transnational activities by their virtue of their political power. And this, according to the view of international taxation, in the broad sense, economic relations between countries caused by the taxation of transnational activities are all called international taxation relations. So there are two kinds of relations included in economic taxation. One is the international relation of tariff, and the other is the income tax. In a narrow sense, that international taxation refers to the relationship between countries caused by the taxation of incomes from transnational investment and other business activities. The international taxation essentially reflects the distributive relationship of tax rights and interest rather than the general economic relationship. Although the tariffs affect trade and other economic relations between countries, they do not involve the distribution of tax power and benefit between the countries. Therefore, it is not appropriate to classify the general economic relationships caused by the tariffs as the international taxation. And the international relations of tariffs are completely different from that of income tax due to the factors that such as the objective objects of taxation involved in the tariff, and the taxpayers, and the historical investigation. Therefore, the international taxation refers to the international taxation in a narrow sense. The narrow definition of international coordination refers to the act of coordinating conflicts arising from the jurisdiction of taxpayers across borders between two or more sovereign countries. The premise the premise is the tax jurisdiction on the basis of national sovereignty. And from the broad sense, the international tax coordination should extend to between the national tax and tax elements, and all-round coordinations and related tax policies to the so-called international coordination of tax system. The generalized extended besides the coordination of tax revenue jurisdiction should also include the various countries' tax system within the scope of international convergence and even some form of integration. With the deepening of the economic globalization, the transnational flow of goods and factors and the production integration of multinational companies have relatively weakened the implementation of national sovereignty and made the tax structure of the country more international. Practice has also proved that the difference in the tax system are gradually reduced and its convergence characteristics become more obvious. Therefore, the entire tax coordination of economic globalization is not only the coordination of tax jurisdiction of each country, but also the spontaneous coordination of tax structure of each country. That is the gradual convergence. Since the coordination of tax structure itself has the characteristic of internationalization and the generalized international tax coordination, basically reflects the main characteristic of international tax relations after the current economic globalization. The meaning of economic globalization is very broad. It basically involved four levels of contents. First is the international integration of various markets. Second, the internationalization of the economic activities. Third is the internationalization of the economic activity carriers, such as the development of multinational corporations and the emergence of international economic coordination structures. Fourth, the countries have become more economically independent with the Cold War. At the end, the isolation between the East and the West was broken. Almost all the countries and regions in the world has been involved in the economic globalization. And the new technological process has greatly reduced the transportation, communication, and transaction costs, and gradually shortens the time and space distance in the economic sense. The world is becoming a global village. The world's culture, knowledge, and way of life are becoming more and more global. And transnational investment has become an important driving force of the economic globalization. And with the process of the economic marketalization, the globalization has been gradually penetrated into the economic field from the field of the real economy. Under the background of the globalization, it is urgent to strengthen the international coordination of taxation in the development of international economy. And due to the transnational flow of commodities and factors of the production, The taxpayers and the tax objects of all countries have become internationalized, and the tax power of the government has begun to go beyond the national boundaries, and the tax burden may be transferred to other countries. Therefore, it is inevitable for a country to have a certain relationship of tax benefits and economic interest with other countries. Land with the increased economic increase with the increase of the integration between the countries, the national tax policy can easily affect other countries. One country will be difficult to independently set its own tax policies. In order to further eliminate the tax obstacles of the development of uh, international economic tax competition and preventing damage to national interests between one country and other countries, it's necessary to carry out certain tax coordinations. Therefore, in the open economy, under the background of economic globalization, strengthening the international coordination of tax has become an important economic problem. The main means of the taxation coordination under the premise of the country cannot transfer their tax sovereignty. The international coordination methods mainly include the following types. First is the informal tax coordinations and the coordination between countries. The two or several countries exchange information about tax structures and tax reform of their respective countries through the regular or irregular contact and exchange of visits between the tax officers, and try to establish a mechanism of information exchange about the transnational taxpayers so as to prevent the combat the emergence of international tax evasion. This approach is the lowest degree of the coordination and often lack of the constraint mechanism for the partner countries.